Okay, welcome to finally another one of my Gundam tutorial videos, aka my tips and tricks. Today we are going to talk about the Gabtheley, which is one of my favorite 600 to 650. I think it's got 700 cost now, but one of my favorite picks at 650. Mostly because I don't know why I can't use anything else at 650 except for this. So we're gonna go in depth about what I use and how I make it work. So essentially, we go into my Hara, we take a look at what I'm building. Basically, from a glance, I'm building a lot of defense into my Gabtheley. I'm comfortable with the 21,000 HP it comes with naturally, so I decided to pump more into damage so I have more survivability with a secondary interest in thrusters. Once I had the thruster gauge over 90, I then put all the rest of my space into a DPS, aka range strength, seeing how I have a lot of ranged options in this mobile suit. Going to my part specifically is the anti-melee armor level 4, the enhanced firing program level 4, anti-beam armor level 4, anti-ballistic armor level 2, anti-melee armor level 2, anti-ballistic armor level 1, enhanced firing program level 1, and thruster control system level 2. Now, at 650 cost, there's so much damage out there that beam and ballistic defense are very much needed for anti-range weapons, but melee is usually something that I find slacking on a lot of my defenses for higher cost suits. So therefore, I made sure not to skimp out on my melee defense here, especially since Gabtheley naturally has only 18 defense. So I decided to really bump it up. My hotkeys are very simple. I keep the Fedine rifle and its bayonet on my active hotbar. The Mega Particle Shorter Cannons are also on my hotbar. Normally my square, triangle, circle, X. I keep my Vulcans on the X circle combination, mostly because it's something I will press more often than not. Beam Saber will always be on a triangle because that is how I have it across all of my mobile suits. And the skills of the Gabtheley aren't really impressive in mobile suit form. It's got emergency evasion, which is your dodge roll, level 1, so it's only got one roll. Force injectors, level 2. Anti-blast stabilizer, which helps a lot when you're getting in there with the Fedine. Flight control program, level 2, so it can move in midair. High performance balancer, level 1. High spec AMBAC, level 2. Melee combo control, level 1, so it's got 2 swings. High performance radar, and it can transform. Into the transform state, it has dodge roll, shock dampeners, which reduces or cancels stagger effects after being attacked. It has high performance radar, anti-blast stabilizer, and it also has a RAM that all transforming air units have. So really, the Gabtheley itself has a lot of setup. It has the Fedine rifle and the Mega Particle Cannons for ranged stuns, Vulcans that can back up a one shot from the Fedine to help stun, especially on the move. The Beam Saber is pretty nice. It's 2300 damage. And the Fedine beam bayonet is also 2500 damage, which is pretty nice in itself. So it's got a lot of damage output potential. It's just a lot of the problems with the Gabtheley is it's more precision than not in landing your ranged hits, as it only has access to the Fedine rifle and nothing else. So I think we shall jump into the practice range and mess around with the Gabtheley real quick and go over exactly what I do. It's nothing too special, so this portion will be shorter than normal, but it is it's very few tricks to do with the Gabtheley. It's very straightforward. So looking at our boost bar, as you can see, we're actually quite a sizable distance away from spawn before we even get close to running out of our booster bar. Now, we talk about our weapons. So the Fedine normal rifle can stun a target in 2 shots if it doesn't have like shock dampener or damage control on any of those things, where it can really stop you from staggering them very easily, like the Gabtheley, which would take an ample shot from your shoulder cannons to actually stun, which is where you gotta come into some common knowledge about what you're using here. So the Fedine shoots 3 shots before it overheats, and the second shot is always going to be a stun, even through maneuver armor, unless, as I said before, they got damage control. Mega particle cannons will not stun through maneuver armor. Actually, yeah, I think they might get resisted, but they are stun onto stationary targets. It's very useful, say, if it as Gabtheley, to follow up with it to help build stagger for damage control. Now, one thing you can do is the Fedine rifle does charge while on the move, unlike the prototype one the Marseille uses, and pierces through. Wait, no, this one doesn't pierce. That's right. My mistake. It does not pierce. It doesn't do that much more damage than, say, a normal shot. So I don't really use it. But one thing you could do, you get to stun off, juggle them. And in there, that's a good little damage attack. Granted, I messed up. I could have landed a little earlier and afforded to melee, but it's okay. I got damage there, which that's okay. We're not going for min-maxing damage, but there is a possibility there. Now, let's move on to more along the lines of something more practical. And we'll get into, what everyone's going to do with this thing, which is holding you with as a solo unit in a melee stun lock. So I'm just going to kill this Hobrobbie real quick. With stun, melee, with the attack with the beam bayonet afterwards. The beam bayonet's a really good follow-up due to the fact that it does a lot of damage. And if an enemy does not have dodge roll, then you're really going to juggle. Now, let's talk about a theory here. A lot of people who are watching this may not know about the but the juggling capabilities of suits with double melee weapons. Now, hear me out here. If you swing once, you time it right, unlike what I just did there, you can lock them here. As you see, I'm pretty slow. I haven't done this in a while. But theoretically, you can just juggle an opponent and finish them off on your own, and they won't be able to combat you much at all. So, realistically, the Gabtheley has melee game as well as range game. It's just the fact that it doesn't have a lot of defenses natively, so pumping damage into this thing is not really going to get you far in terms of survivability in the match. You'll probably explode before you get in too deep on the enemy team. The weapon swap speed is pretty slow, and the Fedine rifle's bayonet does have a long recovery time before you can swing it again. So there is drawbacks. I think the Gabtheley is overall a very, very good suit. So give it a try.